Good evening. Welcome to ExPat Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Tonight on ExPat Insights, on the event of April Fool's Day and a holiday coming up, we are going to talk about humor, fun, comedy. We are going to talk about laughter and leadership, how they're related, and how people benefit from laughter and leadership. My guests tonight, very funny people, two of them. One of them is a speaker, a professional speaker and a consultant. His name is Tootz de la Torre, and he speaks and trains for a living. Another gentleman, Mike Unson, also speaker and a funny man, plays at a place called Grillery in Green Hills every once a month. So my guests tonight here are to talk about laughter and leadership. Welcome to ExPat Insights, gentlemen.
Hey, nice to be here, Raju, my friend.
All right, so these are funny people, and they know what laughter and leadership is all about. So tell us about it. Yeah. No, not Pete. Tell us about it. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
Laughter and leadership. I don't normally use them in the same sentence because I'm not much of a leader, but I do have some people who follow me. But
right.
I've helped out a few comics along the way, and I don't like to call it mentoring. Like when I help out a new guy, normally I just let them open for my shows or we hang out, and then eventually when they get better, I let them do their own thing. Because
so that is not leadership then?
Well, I guess in a way, like it's like putting somebody under your wing, but my wings aren't big enough. So when they get big enough or when they're like confident enough, I tell them, hey, do your own thing because you can't be tagging along with me forever.
Right. So I don't know if that is leadership. What do you think, Tito?
Well, you could combine both leadership and laughter.
Yeah.
People who are charismatic leaders, you know, they have a good sense of humor.
Brother somebody.
Brother somebody?
Huh?
I don't know. There are many brothers out there who are charismatic. I don't know.
Well, Barack Obama.
Barack Obama, okay.
That
brother, he's a brother too?
We're distantly related.
Distantly related.
Yeah.
That serial killer Ted Bundy was very charismatic.
Who was that?
It was a famous serial killer in the 70s, I believe, and he was so charismatic, even the judge told him, I'm really sad you turned into a life of crime because you would have been great in the legitimate world. Something like that.
Right. Ted who?
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy. So he was quite charismatic as a bad guy.
Yeah, he was a charismatic bad guy. In fact, that's how he lured his victims, through humor. He would like, I think he would lure girls into going out with him, and then, I don't know what method of
Okay, I think we jumped into the topic, and I'm kind of still around the neighborhood into the subject matter. But let me go the standard way. Tell me about yourself. This is not good for me. Tell me about yourself a bit, sir.
Well,
Sir Mike, yeah.
Mike Tootz?
No, Mike and you both. Tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay.
Well,
Mike first.
Okay. Well, first of all, just a disclaimer. I'm 10 pounds lighter. I look fat in this. Well, I've been a professional stand-up comedian for the past 9 years. In fact, I celebrated my anniversary last Feb.
Okay.
And then I do what we'd refer to as point-of-view stand-up comedy.
Okay.
So oftentimes when people find out I'm a stand-up, they ask, so are you the type who insults people and stuff like that? And I'm like, no. That's a different kind of stand-up. That's called insult theater, and I don't do that.
Insult
because
theater.
I'd like to get along with people, and when you insult them, you might have them waiting for you at the parking lot or something.
So you might become unprofessional.
Yes, unprofessional as well. So I do point-of-view stand-up, meaning I pick a topic.
Clean.
Yeah, clean, of course. I pick a topic, play around with it. Go through some process to make it funny. Like I talk about really mundane stuff, anywhere from taking cab rides to taking the MRT to eating ice cream, and brushing your teeth,
washing your face,
fixing your car, borrowing money from your folks, and
we will ask you how you do it.
Okay.
You will tell us how you do it. No, you let the secret out.
A bit, yeah.
Okay. One question is, since you started 9 years ago professionally, were you paid at your first gig?
Yeah, I got paid a glass of iced tea
Oh, that was pretty good in those days, 9 years ago. I
But
think that was good money.
I was on the phone. I'm like, really? I get a free drink this time? Or yeah, I
All
got
right.
it made.
Tito Tootz, tell us about yourself.
Well, I use humor a lot when I give talks
Yeah.
because I'm able to let the audience, lighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, when their jaws start dropping,
Right.
you would be able to punch into them the message that you'd like to give.
Well, are you like professional? Do you get paid for it? Do you get drinks or a bottle of wine?
Mike
or
is
or a
doing
massage for being funny?
yeah, massage, just the hand. Yeah. But, yes. How do you deliver punchlines, Raju?
I don't know. I don't
I'll
know.
tell you.
What is a punchline anyway?
There are 3 P's when you're delivering a punchline.
What is a punchline anyway? I don't know. What's a punchline?
I'll tell you.
Okay, okay.
Well, the first P is called the preparation. That's the setup. Okay. The second P is just as important as the third P. The third P is the punchline, but the second P is the pause. Bob Hope says it's all about timing.
So thus, it has to be lethal.
Lethal. Well, yeah, and
Dangerous. The
If it
timing
works.
has to be good, I mean.
it has to be
Yeah,
good.
it's
Yes.
all about, you can like have a really good joke and mess it up
Yeah.
with the timing. Like, let's say
how can you mess up a good joke with a bad timing?
Let's say you're doing a joke and something explodes, and you deliver your punchline at the point of or sometimes the waiter drops something,
Oh,
and that's when
so
you
it's
deliver your
drowned
punchline.
in-
And all of a sudden they would like, oh, what happened? And you're like, darn, I.
Oh, right, right. Or perhaps you
Or perhaps
already
you
explained the punchline
explained it
before
too
the
much.
preparation.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's, I don't know where I read it from. I read it from somewhere. If you're like having to explain your joke,
Ah,
then it's
good, good.
ineffective.
Yeah, right.
Just-
Yeah. So you play at the Grillery once a
Yeah,
month,
among
and
others,
so that
yeah.
people know where you
Yes,
play.
yes.
Is there any other place do you play corporates?
Yeah,
and
I
you
do a lot
stuff?
of these private stuff.
Yeah,
Like, but
yeah.
this month I'll be at Resorts World
Yeah.
on the 26th with
Right.
Phil-American comedian Rex Navarrete.
Right,
So
right,
if
right.
you're a fan of Rex and
Yeah.
a fan of mine, show up.
Fan of Mike more than Rex, because you're here, you know.
If you're a fan of Rex, please come on time so you get to watch me.
All right. Tito Tootz, what do you do to keep yourself busy besides being funny
Well,
professionally?
You'll be surprised, Raju. I'm
Yeah.
together with my batchmate in the Ateneo Dinaga. We have this wind turbine project.
Winter?
Wind turbine projects.
Oh,
wave.
wind.
Ah,
okay.
yeah.
A wind, the one that moves like a fan.
Yes,
That
yes.
one.
Yeah, okay.
We're doing a little bit bigger than the first one that was established in Bangi. That's a 33 megawatt.
Right,
Ours
right.
is 50.
Is that
And
those white things?
that one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, like a windmill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but I'm there. I do the non-technical part. I establish relationships with people there, like the mayors and the property owners, the barangay, the fisher folk there.
Okay. All right. At this point, you know what we'll do? We'll take a pause.
Okay.
Yeah? Because this was the preparation. Then we'll do the punches. After the break, we'll come back and talk to Tito Tootz and Uncle Mike about laughter and leadership. And they'll tell us how leadership is
just grew 20
related
years old.
to laughter. He's my Tito too. So stay watching ExPat InSights. Today's April Fool's Day, and we are having fun here at ExPat InSights. Good evening and welcome back to ExPat InSights, and we are talking to Mike Unson, who's my nephew, I'm sorry, not my uncle, and Tito Tootz. We are talking about laughter and leadership, and they jumped right into the subject matter of laughter a while ago, but we will relate this to laughter and leadership.
Okay.
And if you are out there watching, if you're a speaker, if you're a company boss, if you're a manager, and if you want to include humor related to happiness, these are the gentlemen who will give you the magic potions. So, sir, tell us now a bit about leadership from your perspective. Humor and leadership.
Humor and leadership,
yeah.
yes. You need to be a charismatic leader, and you need to inspire.
Yeah.
You need to motivate people, and you could use humor to a
Right.
great extent if
Yeah.
you're able to help your audience, lighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you can use your humor so that the atmosphere would be easy, and then you would be able to tell your message to your audience.
So
Yeah.
thus, Mike, he's saying that you need that to soften up people, to open up people, to break ice and then be able to manage them. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, manage them,
Yeah,
lead
that
them,
is a
influence
very
them.
effective tool.
Yeah.
I don't really manage too many people, but yeah, I noticed that the good leaders are either very funny or very charming.
Yeah.
They're either womanizers or just funny guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're like in the workplace, I used to work in a Korean school. If your boss is funny or light-hearted or laid back, it's more fun to be working in that kind of an environment versus some stuck-up who wants to I don't know, trample on your fun or something, right? If your boss is like this really stiff guy who's like nitpicking all the time, right? You wouldn't want to follow somebody like that, right? You'd be thinking to
Pain
yourself,
in the neck, yeah.
like if you're like in the workplace, like my dad would always tell me, you should look for somebody you'd like to end up like when you get that age. When you get to some place and you notice, I don't want to be like any of these guys. So that's unhealthy, right? But like if you're working for somebody, this guy is funny. I mean,
he's happy.
He's happy.
Right.
People like him, and I want to be like this person there.
Right. So actually, so what you're saying is that a person who's humorous, light-hearted, and easygoing becomes a role model.
Yes.
So influence becomes easy because of that, no? So in this ambience, in this panahon that we live in, the Philippines, no? How many people do you think are funny? How about our leaders here, who rule, who legislate, and who make the laws? I don't know.
That's tough to call, Raju, because we're watching them and they're on camera. But but sometimes you would see there would be some funny incidents even during the impeachment trial.
Yeah. I don't watch that. Yeah, not funny.
But the mark of a professional like this guy here.
To your right.
Yes.
To my right, I mean.
And my right as well.
Yeah, okay.
They're able to deliver punchlines in an
like
audience.
from the hip. You think our big boss, our current leader of this country, you think he has a sense of humor?
I think so, because he apparently plays a lot of video games, and what else does he do?
Is he light-hearted? Is he a role model?
So.
Yeah?
He seems to be a kid at heart, because prior to the presidency, you'd hear things like he likes cars, he likes video games, he likes guns. Sounds like sounds like somebody you'd like to hang out with, I guess.
Do you manage a lot of people in your wind turbine business, sales business?
No, not directly, but we do have meetings with a lot of people in the town where we'd like to put our wind turbines in.
Yeah.
You know, the mayor and the Sangguniang, the barangays that are at least 5 barangays that we're talking with, and the fisher folk.
Right. So you use a lot of laughter and easygoing approaches
we
to
conduct
build rapport.
Public forums, and part of the rapport building, as you mentioned, is some cracking some jokes there, and the jokes got to be relevant.
So how does one go about being it? Did you discover it? Did you have to sweat for becoming humorous? Mike, go first. Did you have to sweat for it, or did you discover a bone somewhere? Oh my God, this is a big funny bone.
No.
Yeah?
It was a long, tedious thing. Before I became a stand-up comic, I was a stage manager for ballet.
Before you became what?
Before I became a stand-up comic, I was a stage manager.
Okay.
I was a stage manager for ballet productions.
Right, that helped.
Yeah, so stage manager is pretty much the equivalent of a floor director, I guess, for TV.
Yeah.
So I did that job for like 5 years. So I was managing theater crew, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I just burned out and went on a break. Then bumped into my I attended an acting workshop when I was in college, and I bumped into my director, and he said, "I'm forming a comedy group. Want to try out?"
Wow, this was UP, Ateneo?
No, I did it in University of St. Lasal in Bacolod. See, Peke Galiaga has this summer thing going on.
Was he the director that time, Peke Galiaga?
No, a friend of one of his people asked me to join his comedy group. So I was doing improvs for a while, and that didn't work for me.
Yeah?
And he said, "I don't think you're an improv kind of a guy. You should try doing stand-up."
What is the difference? Improv?
Improv is like theater games played on stage. So you have a bunch of players.
Like what
the
Spit
actors.
does?
Yes,
Silly
exactly,
people
exactly.
in theater, okay.
Yes. So you play, they have templates of what theater games they'd like to play for the audience.
Right.
Which is suggestion-based. For example, they'd play something like, let's say they do foreign translation. So they'd ask the audience for a nationality and a topic, and they'd make a...
They translate
They
that.
translate it
Right.
on stage. So that's pretty...
Sharp. And
it's
fast.
something that you rehearse, but you don't. It's something you do on the spot. And stand-up is the exact opposite of that. So all of my jokes are pretty much like a singer who has songs. A singer doesn't go up on stage and makes up songs, right? So
you've been at this for 9 years.
Yes, 9
So you
years.
have you've cut a CD like a song.
I've got like a series of jokes.
And then you repeat them, and if you are thrown off the track, you lose.
Yeah, I mix and match.
You
Like
mix and
normally
match.
before a gig, like let's say I'm tasked to do an hour of stand-up.
Yeah.
I'd probably line up anywhere from 30 to 40 jokes, and have a specific order that I'd
But you
like
still
to do.
go ahead and look candid, as
Yes,
if you
yes,
were
yes.
just saying. So that's the
You have
practice.
to like
for-
pretend to be saying it, delivering it all
off
for the
cuff,
first time.
Off the cuff.
And
So it's a lot of sweat that you needed
yes,
to put
it's
it
a lot
in.
of
So
hard
you didn't
work.
discover a big bone and say, funny ako.
No.
Tito,
Doesn't work that way.
Toots, how about you?
Well, you know, when I was in grade school,
Yeah.
I was watching my batchmate,
Yeah.
and he was telling stories, and then he would deliver a punchline.
Yeah.
There were like four of them.
Right. Yeah.
The other three just listening to him.
Right.
And I was so mesmerized watching from the distance. At how he was able to do it.
Right.
And so I said, I want to be like him.
Right. Right.
And you know what I did?
Yeah.
I had a conscious effort to practice jokes and then to deliver them. Mike would tell you that a lot of success that you would get delivering stories and jokes would be practicing.
Yes, definitely.
Practicing it.
It's
So
stage
living
time
it.
also.
How about the raw material for it? I'm sure, like you mentioned, that you do clean humor.
Yes.
You do situational humor. So thus you do not pick on caste,
No.
color,
No.
creed,
Yeah,
or
those are-
body parts.
Yes.
No nose.
Body parts, no?
No.
Nothing
I
about the
leave that
nose or
to,
the leg or the hair on the body, nothing, right? So you talk about situations, no? So I was lucky enough to see a show of Rex Navarrete, and he claimed that whenever he walks around and people recognize him, or he introduces himself as, I'm a stand-up comedian, people go, sample.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you think you could give me a sample, or you need to practice for the sample?
Well,
If I go sample, yeah?
No.
Sample ng humor.
it's like this. Raju.
Yes, sir.
If your father is poor,
If my father is poor, but
that's your fate.
that's my fate. Okay.
If your father-in-law is poor,
Yeah.
that's your fault.
If my father-in-law is poor, that's my fault. Okay, you, Sir Mike.
Well, what, you want me to do a joke or something?
I don't know. Just show me a sample. You know.
Yeah,
like
well, let me just
a flyer.
give you a sample of what I'm working on. Like, for example, I like watching Discovery Channel a lot. Like, you learn many things, like what plants to eat in case you're lost in the woods or something.
No.
Or if you're in the brink of death and...
I don't know what plants to eat if I'm lost.
Yeah, like Discovery Channel, you watch these explorers and they'd be like, in case you're trapped somewhere, you can eat this plant. Or you can actually stab this catfish and eat the meat raw, stuff like that.
Right.
So these are like legitimate discoveries. I'm sure it was through trial and error.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering, my biggest mystery is who was the genius who discovered coffee alamid? I mean,
Coffee alamid is the
Yes.
one that comes from
I mean,
cats.
yes,
That one.
digested by cats and released somehow. And what situation was he in? Why did he do it? Like, I can understand eating a plant out of hunger, but to have coffee from that, what circumstance? What was that? Was he with his friends and it'd be like, hey, we're in the middle of nowhere, we need coffee. Do something, leader. No.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's how you put it together.
Yes,
so you look for strange stories. And then
strange, and then you generalize a bit, like
bring it to
because
common sense level.
Because that's how you get people who are like, if you start with a strange thing right away and you have like connoisseurs, meaning people who are fans of comedy, they'd get it, right?
Yeah.
But new people, they'd be like, huh, why is he talking about
cat food
or whatever, right? I believe that when you're doing comedy on stage, or even when you're doing your humorous speeches, it's like being on a date for the first time. You don't like attack a date and say all these weird things right away, right? You say things like, so where do you study? Or do you like watching movies? Stuff like that. You don't go all of a sudden, hey, you know what? I have a book about serial killers. You don't do that to your date, right? You're like, hey, I collect knives. And I can do some knife throwing. And she'd be like, okay, maybe I should set you up with my friend. She's a cop. Or, I don't know, right? So it's like, speaking for the first time, leading, it's always a date. It's a date wherein you want to be asked, you want this person to go out with you again.
This is so good. This is a good. Let me rephrase it. Okay, let me rephrase. Unless you want to do it for me. Unless you want to give another perspective. So what he's saying is that if you want to become funny, go slowly.
Yes, exactly.
Step by step, cautiously, carefully. Don't jump off the cliff to be funny. So if you're out there, you're a leader, you're a manager, and you want to build rapport, don't try drastic stuff.
Yes. Don't like overexert yourself or try too hard. Like you have some people who are like you. Sometimes you meet people for the first time and they're like throwing jokes at you all of a sudden.
Right. That's bustos.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's really bad. It's nasty.
I mean, you haven't asked for my name.
Correct.
Now
so
you're like,
what you're saying is you've not built a relationship. There's no rapport yet, and you are jumping the gun. So you are entering very cold.
In fact, sometimes if time permits, I'd actually go to the venue. Well, normally I'm at the venue for my gigs like an hour before. But if I'm there earlier, I'd actually take the time to talk to people who are already there. Introduce myself. I'd be like, hey, I'm performing later. Don't go yet, okay? And normally they'd appreciate this. And when it's your turn on stage, it'd be like, oh, that's the guy who spoke to us earlier.
Yeah, it's important.
Go ahead, sir.
It's important to establish rapport with.
So how would you relate that? How would you convert that into a business situation at a cocktail party or a business meeting? How would you apply the same technology? Let's call it a technology or a philosophy, if you will. How would you do it, Tito Tootz?
Yeah, I'll go with what Mike mentioned. It's important to know who you're talking with and to establish, because behind the success of being a stand-up comedian or being a businessman or being a leader is a relationship that works. It's important to establish that.
Right.
Yeah, and you would look forward to being with people who you have a relationship with.
Wow. Well, this is
very
insightful.
important.
So let me again give it a perspective. You're saying that, so that's if I want to be a leader and I have a person who will follow me or a group of people who will follow me, before I even start influencing them, kahit minor, I first get to know them, let them get to know me. And then I progress step by step. So I turn the ship around very, very slowly. I influence them very, very slowly, whether it's for laughter or for a higher purpose.
Actually, it could also work for evil purposes. Like the con men do this, right? They make friends with you, they establish a relationship, get you off your guard, and then that's when they strike, right?
I don't know that.
Like if you watch famous con men or these characters who are into crime. That's how they start. For example, these pyramiding scams.
Yeah.
They'd always establish a relationship with somebody, make friends.
Now you're talking money and networking.
Yes. So the same way with legitimate purposes. It's always about relationships. It's about opening yourself to strangers.
Right.
And
how do you do that? That's a long process for those network marketeers, or even in your business, you go in 1 hour early. How do you do this in a setting like this, where I just met you, you walked in, and we are on a spotlight, or we are in a meeting? How do you fast track that? What is the method?
There are levels of communication.
Yes,
there are levels of relationships, Raju. And you would know by the way the other party is reacting with you. For example, the first level would be the hi, hello level. And then you want to go a little bit higher, you say something more than hello.
Right.
You say, how are you?
Right.
So that's the second level. You're saying more than just hello. And then the third level would be you talk about things already. Okay.
So it's really good conversation.
Yeah. Fourth level.
Things you like to talk about there.
Yeah. The fourth level would be you talk about your feelings already. The fifth level, which is the highest level, would be you talk about things that you're very vulnerable about. It's you. That level.
Up on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs scale. So you go up main, value, beliefs. Later, don't go there yet.
I'll show you, Raju.
Yeah.
For example, somebody would say, I feel so bad today. I need a friend. And then the person you're talking with would say, hello. You're on the fourth level.
Yeah.
The person you're talking with is on the first level.
Oh,
so
right.
You see, there's got to be, you would have a reaction from the person you're talking with.
Right.
So that you know that you're able to relate with the person on the different levels that there is.
Well, when you mean level, you don't really mean height, you mean depths.
Yes.
You mean depths of emotions, depths of
that
feelings, depths of values. So you go deeper slowly. So if you go deep too quickly, the person might, or the audience might, in your case, turn you out. Oh, fantastic.
Again, we go to the date, what do you call it?
Analogy.
The date analogy, wherein you don't freak them out first, or like our elders would always tell us not to joke around with people you're not familiar with, because I'm sure it's happened before. You joke around with someone, it turns out he's picon, and suddenly he just punches you right away.
Yeah,
right?
that could be terrible.
So you don't want that to happen. So,
but that's the way with the relationships. You take risks. You take risks. Even for like Mike here is a professional stand-up comedian. But people go to an event, they go to a place, and they know that there's got to be some punchlines there. But some people still get offended. Some, there are some comedy bars there that thrives on put-down jokes. I like the genre that Mike is doing. It's the lift-up jokes.
Right. So people with families can come to your events.
Yeah, you can even. I've done events for family reunions where they have kids, where they have their grandparents. I've done a funeral, and you can't do that if you're like doing these nasty things, right?
Oh, so but in all your experiences, 9 years with you, and maybe a little less for you or more for you, Tito Tootz, no, I don't know, more or less.
Well, not in the same way that Mike is doing it, but I would say I started when I joined the Toastmasters Club.
So tell me, what has been your funniest experience, the most humor satisfying, humor fulfilling experience? Go ahead, share a story.
Well, I have one.
Yeah.
It was in a meeting, and the guy was to come on, told the master of ceremonies that he needs 10 minutes.
He needs 10 minutes, okay.
Yeah. So the master of ceremonies was in a bind. What can you say in 10 minutes? You're not prepared.
Yeah.
So he looks at the audience. Somebody says, Tootz, let Tootz sing. So they started clapping. So I went up, and then they thought I was going to sing. And then I started, delivering punchlines one after the other. And before I knew it, the 10 minutes was up. And I didn't even have to sing.
Ah, so you
I
filled in
had a
time,
kick doing that.
you stood in for someone, and instead of singing, you just
Yeah, well, I
delivered
said,
a string of
you know,
jokes.
yeah, I said, you know, I sing. I used to be a male vocalist with a band. I'm a baritone. My tone varies. And then
Okay, I get it.
started from that. It was so funny. I was enjoying myself.
Mike,
What has been your peak moment?
well,
in,
I've had a lot of weird moments in my 9 years. Like, I would have people come up to me and they'd be like, they'd ask for advice sometimes. I'd be like, oh, okay, I do jokes. But hey, if you want my thoughts, right? Probably one of my favorite moments was one time I was doing a show and I was doing my jokes, my series about being single.
Yeah.
And then when I step off the stage to shake hands with people, this group of girls were like, "Are you really single?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then they were like, "You know what? We could set him up with our friend." And they did. They set me up, and I went out with this girl. And then, of course, it didn't work out because she was a professional and all, and she was like, "Oh, what? You do stand-up, and you're asleep most of the time?" So, and I'm like, "Okay." But we became friends, and now she's like in one of my jokes.
She's one of your gigs.
Yeah, she's in my series where because I went as far as delivering flowers to her office. So now I have a joke about the secret admirer there.
Right.
Which I based on that situation where I went to her office with
Yet
flowers.
you don't name names.
No, I don't.
You don't
mention
name
her.
names.
I would mention like places or
Right.
sometimes I do names depending on who's watching me.
Yeah.
I'd use their names. They like that sometimes. They'd be like, "Oh, that's my name."
It's almost like seeking permission from them.
Right, exactly.
Well, has there been a time in your life and you said, look, this profession is fulfilling, it's funny, but it's not paying me enough. I don't get enough respect. I just get iced teas or a bottle of wine. Do you ever feel that? Do you ever
sometimes, but then again, I always believe in the saying, somebody's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
I guess this is my role in life to make people laugh. Like sometimes you meet people who are like really depressed and they tell you, "Hey, I had fun, thanks. I'm having a bad time," and you just lift me up somehow. And nice.
Let's take a quick break. Let's take a quick break and come back and talk about a little bit finer nuances on laughter and leadership. Okay. So thank you for watching ExPat InSights. We'll take a break and come back and talk to nephew Mike Unson and Tito Tootz de la Torre. I'm your host Raju Mandhyan. Good evening. Welcome back to ExPat InSights. Tonight on April Fool's Day, we are talking about laughter and leadership. And my guests here are Mike Unson, stand-up comedian, professional stand-up comedian, and professional speaker and humorist, Mr. Tootz de la Torre. So they just told us a bit about humor and leadership, the relationship. And we'll ask them about, let's talk about differences in culture of humor. Tito Tootz, no? Asian versus Western. What are the essential differences? Can we take Asian humor, like the humor of Dolphy? Do you think it'll sell in Europe and America? And what is the difference?
Well, that's like slapstick humor, right?
Yeah, that's slightly different.
It's the one where you deliver punchlines would work globally.
Okay.
Like I've had an occasion to talk with several nationalities. I used to be in export, Raju, and there was this furniture export event in Singapore. And there were some Malaysians there, some Japanese, and Singaporeans, and from Asia mostly.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I speak all languages except Greek. And somebody in the table said, so desu ne. Anata no namae wa nan desu ka?
Wala.
He said, I'm sorry, that's Greek to me.
Okay.
Try another one.
You, sir, do you think there's any difference between Asian leadership and Western leadership?
Well, for one thing, when it comes to cultural differences, like I find it that us as Filipinos, as Asians, we're a bit of In Tagalog, we're a picon bunch sometimes.
Picon?
Picon, meaning
Buns?
we're a picon bunch.
Bunch. Okay, bunch. I was thinking pandesal. Okay.
Like there are certain jokes you can't do for Filipinos,
Absolutely,
which the Westerners don't mind. Like
Yeah.
if you watch shows like Saturday Night Live, they're making fun of their leaders and they're calling them by, like, you'd have an impersonator show up and they'd call him President Bill Clinton,
yeah.
or
Right,
Barack Obama, and they don't care. In fact, these guys are probably watching, laughing
At the same
at
time.
the same time. But
Yeah.
in the Philippines, it's slightly different. Like when you do our impersonators would have to like change the name a bit because they're afraid they might offend somebody and things like that. Sometimes I go into shows where the organizers would say things like, "Oh, can you not do, we have some sponsors from the fast food industry. Can you not do your fast food joke?
Can you not insult them?
Or don't insult them." I'm like, I'm not insulting them. No, but because they might find it insulting and stuff like that.
So they're a bit, we as Asians are a bit more cautious, a little more
Yes,
conservative.
that's
We don't like mother jokes here. You know? Your mama jokes don't go well, no? It's a fact that, I don't know, I've watched Barack Obama, Bill Clinton in what's known as the White House Press Club Conference.
Okay.
And I've seen the presidents do stand up themselves. That's classic. No? That won't happen in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, like I just saw Barack Obama in, I'm not sure if it was on Leno or Letterman, but you see the president was on a comedy.
He was a guest.
Yeah, he was a guest.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was just like any other guest. Like the host was treating him. He wasn't like, "Oh, Mr. President." No, they were like talking.
Like
and it was cool, yeah.
Right,
But I don't think you'll find that here.
How about Europe? That's America. America thrives on fun. I noticed that.
Europe is more of a dry wit, like. Like if you watch James Bond, the Gadget Man, he has very dry humor, right?
Right.
For example, he'd tell Bond, "Grow up," or...
In your experience ever, have you ever offended an individual or a community by mistake and said, "Whoops, I'm sorry, it was a slip of a tongue," or "I went overboard"? Did you ever have to come to that stage and say that, "Sorry, that was really off"?
Well, yeah, like in my case, I have a joke about the 3 o'clock prayer. I don't know if you've ever encountered that on television.
Happy to serve you.
Yes.
Happy to serve. Yeah.
So I have a joke about that where I mimic the voice of the narrator. So I'm not making fun of the prayer. I'm making fun of the whole ad.
Right.
And there's this guy later on who, shook hands with me and said, "Oh, but you know what? I kind of felt offended because you were making fun of the prayer and stuff like that." And I had to explain to him, I'm sorry if that's if you were offended by it, but let me just explain myself. I wasn't making fun of the prayer. I was making fun of the whole ad because it's a funny ad. Because the narrator
is this. Ad you're talking about.
Is this guy with a sleepy voice. He's saying, it's like he's leading the 3 o'clock prayer, and he has this sleepy voice. 3 o'clock in the afternoon is the hour when our Lord Jesus. So it's that, and then towards the end he goes, "For your pledges, please send it to."
Yeah.
So I was like, why is everybody sleepy at 3 p.m.? And I do the prayer, and then at 3:01 his voice changes. "For your pledges, send to." So it's a joke about the ad and not the prayers.
I can see why people might find that offensive, because there are people who are cautious about their belief systems. No? So Tito Tootz, what's your take on it? Do you think that maybe we should become a little more easygoing as far as our sense of humor is concerned?
Well,
or are they wrong? The Western is wrong.
There are different cultures and different ways of looking at things. It would help if you're traveling to a country and you're going to give a speaking engagement. It would help if you have a native from that country to tell you what the sensitivities are, so that you can avoid it.
So essentially what you're saying is, if you're making fun of yourself, if you're a Filipino, you're making fun of Filipinos, no hassle. If you're a Bombay making fun of Bombay's lending money, walang hassle. No? Right? Is that fine? No?
Yeah.
But you don't think any Indians would kill me for that?
No.
No, they won't. No?
If you poke fun at yourself,
Right.
then it's okay, because you'll be able to elicit laughter, at your expense, but
Right.
not at somebody else's
Well, anyway,
expense.
people are laughing at you most of the time anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah? So now let's bring this home to us, to Filipinos. No, we are regarded as one of the happiest countries, not the happiest,
Yeah,
which
That's
is
true.
Iceland, by the way. No,
Iceland is the happiest?
considered the happiest
Really?
country in the
Okay.
world. It's really cold, but yet it's the happiest. Why do you think? What are our traits that make us the happiest, even though we are conservative, as where humor comes, where laughter comes?
The Filipinos, we have a way of looking at things and have fun still about the difficult situations.
Right.
I was there when EDSA was happening, and we all had a lot of funny stories about events, about people.
Yeah.
There's this former president who, when he was campaigning,
Mr.
him.
Mr. Him, okay, yeah, that guy.
a lot of jokes about him. So
Right.
and we were all having a
Yeah.
crack
The
at it.
macho
and,
guy, yeah.
Yeah. We have the Filipinos have a way of looking at things and not really being fatalist about it, but
Not
we're
affected by...
not affected by the difficult circumstances.
Right.
In fact, I feel that's our strength.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
gentlemen, we are about to wrap up the show. We've got 5 minutes to go, and I've got only a couple of questions from you. Number one question is, what do you want to do with this talent, this profession of yours? Where do you want to take it? Do you see yourself being as an industrialist of humor someday? I mean, he's a big taipan of humor. Can you become that someday?
Maybe that's for Mike.
No, I'm just a small fish in the pond. I always believe that I'm doing this job because I love doing it, but it's not a permanent thing, and eventually I will be replaced by a younger, better me.
So you'll be doing Lolos and Lolas one day.
Maybe
Lolo
I'll
circuit.
graduate to other things eventually.
Okay, so you want to...
And you know, it's like I don't know, not passing the torch, but really letting somebody get his turn, I guess.
Right, so you just do your act and go out. You
Yes,
play your
there
part
you
and
go.
How about you, Sir Tito?
Well, Raju, I'm able to use humor a lot to be able to establish rapport with the people I work with. But it's the most important ingredient in relating with people is sincerity. You use humor to be able to establish rapport, to make the other person feel comfortable, maybe even like you.
Right,
But the most important ingredient there is sincerity.
Or authenticity, to bring out the best in another person. Thank you very much. A high five for that. All right, we've got 3 minutes to go, and if you have any event coming up, if you have a place where people can come and learn from you about how to be lightheaded and funny, no? So this is your moment. You can talk to that camera and talk about your event and your phone numbers, websites, if any. I want to thank you for being here
no problem.
and giving me a belly laugh. So April Fool's Day, but there you go.
Our pleasure. Well, I could go
You,
first.
yeah, Mike first.
Mike first? Okay.
Yeah,
you
well,
did before
I have a show on April 14th. That's a Saturday. It's going to be at the Grillery
Yeah?
on
Green
Granada Street, Barangay Valencia is what they call it, QC.
9
It's
p.m.?
right before Gilmore. It's 9 p.m.
Yeah.
It's free. You don't need to pay to get in. And I have another thing going on the 26th of April.
Yeah.
That's with Rex Navarrete for Rex Navarrete's
The
Top
biggest
Picks.
funny Filipino
Yes,
man, huh?
it's
Rex
going to be at
Navarrete.
Resorts World at the Newport Performing Arts Theater.
Okay.
There you go.
Tito Tootz, you want to plug any event?
Yes, Raju, I'm a Toastmaster.
You are, okay.
I'm an area governor this year.
Fantastic.
And I have there's a district affair that's happening at the Asian Institute of Management. This is on April 19 at 1 to 5. The topic is called the Executive Summit.
It's an executive summit.
Yes, and their speakers will be talking about
Right.
speaking and leadership.
Fantastic. So April 19 for you and April 26 for you.
Yes.
And both of these gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, can be found on the Facebook on Facebook, on the ExPat InSights page, and you can connect with Mike Unson and Tootz de la Torre and find out more about their events. Unless you have phone numbers or websites to plug. If not,
that's fine.
Salamat. Thank you very much for being on this show, and it was fun, and God bless you. And
Anytime.
keep laughing. You know, it's better than crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good night and mabuhay, and I hope you have a happy week and a weekend. Bye-bye.